I am a 25-year-old female, and I have an older brother who is 26 years old. It's just the two of us, with no other siblings. My mother is the oldest of two kids. She has a younger brother who is a deadbeat father to his 6 children. When my grandparents were alive, they bought a big house with 7 bedrooms and a lake view in the 1970s. But my grandfather only paid the $5,000 down payment before he had to quit his job due to a sudden stroke. My mom took up the responsibility of paying for the house and my grandfather's medical expenses. My grandmother was a stay-at-home wife and unemployed. My mom worked part-time while working towards getting a degree and landed a great job with amazing perks, through which my grandfather received medical insurance. My uncle got my aunt pregnant at the age of 17 and continued to have 6 more children over the next 12 years before cheating on her, divorcing her, and marrying the mistress. My aunt was a poor girl with no support from her family, so my grandmother took pity on her and asked her and my cousins to move in. My mother continued to be the one to pay the bills, the mortgage, the children's basic needs, and their insurance. My aunt never offered to contribute, even when her father died and left her a sum of money. My uncle only came back home when he wanted money from my grandmother. The children are now adults, all older than me, and 4 out of 6 of them have good jobs. Yet, no one in the past decade has ever contributed to the upkeep and bills. Granted, 5 of them have moved out, but my aunt and her youngest still live there. Now comes the problem. Since both my grandparents have passed away, my mom wants to sell the house. The house is in her name. My grandfather sold the house to her when he couldn't afford it anymore, not just a change in name on the deed. The house is legally and wholly hers, and she wants to put it on the market. That house can go up to $3.7 million now, after numerous renovations funded by my mom and dad. The cousins got wind of this and began hounding my mom with calls and texts about how it isn't fair that they weren't part of the discussion to sell the house and that their mother and siblings have to find someplace else to live. In response, my mom suggested they live with the oldest cousin since she just bought a 4-bedroom home. Initially, out of the goodness of her heart, my mom wanted to give them a share of the profit, but because they were being rude and causing problems, she wants to take the entire profit and put it into my brother's and my trust funds. They found this out when one of them, who was still in my mom's good graces, visited our home and found the paperwork on her desk. My mom is the neatest and tidiest person I know. She doesn't leave anything on her desk. So that cousin must have searched for it. Now for an update. They are taking this to the extended family's group chat, claiming how unfair this is and that my grandparents wouldn't have wanted this for them. A lot of people are rallying behind them and demonizing us now. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, but your mom should tell them that she's thought about it and that they're right. It's unfair. It's unfair that their mom never paid rent while living in her home while raising the kids, and that your mom took care of all of their basic needs, allowing the kids to grow up in a nice house instead of who knows where. And they're right. The older kids should definitely help pay for all of the rent, insurance, and other costs. Your mom will get them a number. It's so nice of them to want to pay her back. Comment 2. Not the idiot, he sold it to her. That's that. It's hers. If your grandparents have other money to be inherited, some sort of split is probably reasonable, straight to the 6 kids and bypassing your deadbeat uncle, in my opinion. But the house no longer has anything to do with them. Edit. Sounds like the grandparents had no other assets, so that pretty much settles it. There is no inheritance here. The fact that he briefly owned a house had nothing to do with anything. Now, for the update. My last post about the family drama over the house sale blew up. Yeah, that was fun. Not. It's been almost a month since all this started, and honestly, things have gone from bad to worse. The cousins' anger has only intensified since the last update. They are relentless, man. They just don't know when to stop. My mom decided to hold a family dinner to address the situation. She invited everyone, hoping to clear the air and make peace. Peace. Right. As if that's ever going to happen. The dinner was held at a local Italian restaurant where we used to celebrate birthdays. My mom thought it'd be a nice way to remind everyone of the good times, but honestly, it felt more like a trap. I arrived early to help set up, feeling the awkwardness in the air. You could feel the tension. The cousins showed up late, making a scene as they entered. Like, seriously, do they have to be so extra all the time? They immediately started criticizing the menu choices, claiming it was unfair to not cater to their preferences. My mom tried to keep the mood light, but she was struggling. They were just ignoring her, acting as if they were the only ones that mattered. One cousin, Mark, openly questioned the fairness of the house sale during dinner. Of course, he had to be the one to bring it up. My mom snapped at him, saying it was her decision and she didn't owe them anything. The atmosphere turned sour, and other family members started taking sides. It was like a bad reality TV show. I tried to mediate, suggesting we talk about it calmly, but Mark accused me of taking my mom's side, implying I was entitled. I couldn't believe it. This escalated into a shouting match with everyone at the table involved. My brother, Alex, tried to calm things down, but only made things worse. I couldn't believe it when he revealed he had been secretly talking to the cousins, like, behind our backs. The cousins claimed they had a right to the house since they had spent time there growing up. Mark kept yelling that they were entitled to something. My mom declared that they were no longer welcome in her home. This led to Mark throwing his drink on my mom in anger. Yeah, you heard that right. The restaurant staff intervened, asking them to leave. Outside the restaurant, Mark continued to yell, threatening to ruin our family reputation. I decided to confront Alex about his secret talks with the cousins. He revealed he felt guilty for not standing up for us sooner. Guilt? Really? The argument drew the attention of nearby diners, adding to the embarrassment. My mom insisted we would not back down from the sale, angering the cousins further. Mark posted a rant on social media, painting us as the villains. Family members began taking sides on social media, creating a public spectacle. My mom received calls from other family members questioning her decision. It was just a mess all around. The situation escalated when the cousins hired a public relations firm to handle their image. Yeah, you heard that right. A PR firm. This is where we are now. Tensions reached a breaking point during a holiday gathering at my house. The cousins crashed the event, demanding to speak to my mom again. She refused, leading to a complete breakdown of communication. They announced they would be taking legal action, claiming emotional distress. Emotional distress? Really? After all the chaos, my mom decided to go through with the sale regardless. She said this was her chance to start fresh. No matter what, she deserves it. I guess that's all I can update you on for now. To answer a few questions, my mom feels justified in her decision because the house was legally hers after her father sold it to her. The cousins had no legal claim to the property despite their emotional attachment. The family members who sided with the cousins were mostly those who had benefited from our grandparents' generosity in the past. My brother's secret talks with the cousins were about discussing their feelings on the matter. No one from our family was supportive of the cousins' use of a public relations firm. We are working on moving forward and letting things settle down. Am I the idiot for refusing to give my estranged daughter an inheritance after paying child support for 19 years? I, a 42-year-old man, met a girl named Angela at a party 23 years ago. We had fun, and then she ghosted me. I did not hear from her for a year until I received an order to pay child support. Turns out I had a child named Marilyn, who is 22 today. It was a shock, but I decided that if that child was mine, I wanted to be part of her life. However, the girl did not agree with me, so I talked with Child Protective Services, went to court, and managed to be the weekend father. In the process, it was confirmed that yes, I am the father, at least on paper. I never actually managed to meet my child, as Child Protective Services was ineffective. Even the court was ineffective, and even the police were ineffective. So for the next 16 years, I sent her birthday cards and other messages until I got a text message. Stop harassing me with your cards. I know what kind of man you are. I don't consider you my father. Well, it broke my heart, but I decided to move on. I paid child support until she turned 19, until the end of high school, and tried to forget about her. I got married and had 3 children. The main part of the story. My mother passed away a year ago. She was a successful real estate agent, and I was her only child. Over her life, she managed to buy 4 apartments as an investment, and I decided to make arrangements so that my 3 children from my current marriage would each get 1 apartment. Until they finish high school, those apartments are rented out, and the profit goes into an investment account that can also be accessed after graduating from high school. I kept the remaining 2 homes. One was her own home, as our own investment for retirement. A few weeks ago, my long-lost daughter, Marilyn, reached out to me via email, expressing sorrow for my mother's passing and saying that she heard I am giving all my children an apartment. She asked when she would receive hers and was also curious about what other things her grandmother might have left her. I was shocked. I have no idea how she got this information, but people talk, and kids love to brag about their possessions. I replied to her that I did not plan to give her anything, as I paid child support for 19 years and considered my part done. I never got to be the father, even though I wanted to. A declaration that she didn't consider me her father hurt me enough. I received an angry email from Angela calling me an awful person for denying my daughter her part of the inheritance and saying that I really hurt Marilyn. I had a very long rant ready as a reply and then deleted it. I never sent it out and decided to just not reply. My wife is neutral and told me that maybe I should give her one of the remaining apartments, but it is my decision. Both Angela and Marilyn have called me an awful person in their emails, basically saying, "So my mother was right. This is what kind of person you are." Am I in the wrong for not giving my daughter anything? I did my part as a father and paid child support for a child I never met. Many people I talk to say, she is still your daughter. But it does not really feel that way. However, I also feel bad. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. This is her mother's fault. She kept the child away from you, probably told her lies about you. You did your part. And your sperm donation has made it clear years ago that she doesn't consider you more than that. You have paid your part, so why on earth should you give anything to such ungrateful people? Talk to a lawyer to make your own will clear, that this person will not receive anything because she has shown what she will do and how she sees you as a bag of money. And you don't want your kids and your wife to have to deal with them if anything happens to you. Comment 2. So use her own words against her. Stop harassing me with your calls and emails. I see the kind of woman you have sadly become. Just like you never considered me your father, I don't see you as my daughter, and my mother never saw you as a granddaughter. Then, please talk to your lawyer and make sure your assets are protected and that you have a bulletproof will so she can't contest it and make your kids' lives miserable. Now, for the update. Marilyn texted me again, asking for a meeting. That was about a month after the last time we talked. This was a direct request and very unexpected, so I felt like I needed to handle this ASAP. I agreed to meet her at a diner since I thought it would be a good place to talk privately. On the day of our meeting, I showed up about a half an hour early just to sort of gather my thoughts and figure out how I was going to handle this conversation. I was already thinking about the possible outcomes and where we could go from here. Marilyn walked into the diner, looking pretty nervous but determined. She ordered a coffee while I got a soda. I was just trying to keep my head clear as we talked. The conversation started with small talk, but it quickly shifted to the topic of inheritance. She expressed her frustration over my refusal to give her anything from the rental properties. She basically pointed out that I had been paying child support for 19 years, and she said, "What do I have to show for it?" She brought up the fact that she had been raised with the belief that I didn't want to be a father. I noted that she used the phrase "real father" again, and it felt pretty pointed to me. Marilyn revealed that she had been talking to a family lawyer about her options. I reminded her that I had been paying child support for years, trying to make my case. She countered by saying that I had never been part of her life, which made the support feel meaningless to her. The discussion kind of escalated, and we both raised our voices slightly. There was a couple sitting nearby who glanced over at us, and it just added to the awkwardness. She accused me of hiding behind child support as an excuse for not being a father. I pointed out that I had sent her birthday cards every year for 16 years, but she just dismissed them as irrelevant. She claimed she needed financial support for school and her future. She suggested that I could at least give her one of the apartments to help her get started. She insisted that this wasn't about revenge, but about fairness. Then we started talking about Angela. Marilyn said she felt caught in the middle of our issues. I mentioned how Angela had been hostile toward me, which I felt was unfair for Marilyn to dismiss. We paused the argument for a moment to order food, and that helped a little bit. After the food arrived, I brought up the idea of a family meeting to clarify everything. Marilyn seemed open to that idea, but was hesitant about involving Angela. We parted ways that day with a sense of unresolved tension. A week later, I got another text from Marilyn saying she wanted to speak with me again. This time, she mentioned that she wanted to bring her mother with her for support. I talked it over with my wife, who encouraged me to remain open but cautious. We agreed to meet at the same diner again, which set the stage for a confrontation with higher stakes. I arrived first on the day of the meeting, thinking about how to handle the upcoming conversation. When Marilyn and Angela walked in together, they both looked pretty determined. The air felt tense as they sat down, and I braced myself for the discussion ahead. The meeting began with a tense silence, and I knew nothing would be the same after this. Edit. The meeting with Marilyn and Angela was intense. Angela demanded to know why I had ghosted them both for years. I explained my attempts at involvement and the obstacles that had kept me away from them. Angela accused me of neglecting my responsibilities, while Marilyn remained silent during this part. I had my wife in my corner, texting me and giving me support throughout the conversation. After a heated discussion, we agreed to meet again with the mediator. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my stepfamily hijack my wedding plans? I am a 27-year-old man getting married to my fiancée Millie, who is also 27 years old, in a few months. Millie's amazing, and because of her, we have everything planned quickly, which is why this is a topic of discussion now. I asked my sister India, who is 26 years old, and my best friend and future brother-in-law when he marries India, Ryder, who is 27 years old, to be my groomspeople. India is technically my best person, but they are sharing everything since it's just the two of them. Millie asked her 3 best friends to be her bridespeople, which includes a male best friend. Because I asked India and Millie asked a male best friend to be in our direct wedding parties, my stepfamilies are having a field day over me asking India but not any of my step or half-siblings. My parents are divorced and both have remarried. My stepfather and mother have a toxic on and off relationship. He has 3 kids from before they met, 2 from after, and they have 2 together. For the last 9 years, they have been a little more solid with no breakups, but it is still toxic. My stepmother is a difficult person, and I dislike her, and so does India. There is little to no relationship with her judgmental behavior. She had 2 sons before she met my dad. She and my dad have 5 more children together. Of all the siblings, I only care about India. The others are not to blame for the chaos that the parents created, but I was never close to any of them, and there is no bond, so I don't plan to give them any roles at the wedding. They will be guests and nothing more, the same for both my parents and their spouses. Some of the step and half-siblings are upset, hurt, angry, or offended at not being included in the wedding party. Especially my stepmother's 2 sons, who feel like they are the more obvious choice over India for being male. But some of the girls are also saying that if India can do it, why can't they as well? I have made it clear that nobody else is being asked. My stepfather told me he would pay for me to include all his kids, and I said no. My dad offered to pay for the wedding reception if I invited all the siblings on his side. The answer was also no. My mom told me they would gift us a honeymoon or whatever we wanted for their side, and again, the answer was no. My stepmother called me rude and told me to think of etiquette and social standing. I told her to leave me alone with her ideas about social standing. I don't care about that. She called me vulgar. I said they cannot buy their way into the wedding. I was told by several of the people involved that I am excluding family, harming family harmony. There is none, and there never was. and I should think of the younger kids especially, and how sad they will be to not be counted as siblings during the wedding when only India is involved. I asked my mom and dad if they really wanted their younger kids and stepkids included against my will when none of them are wanted in the wedding. I asked if that really was what they were going for. They were both angry at me for describing it that way, which maybe was too harsh, but no less true. Eloping is not what Millie and I want, which I know will be suggested. Am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. By my count, that's an extra 14 people in the bridal party. That's kind of ridiculous. Side note, you having 2 and her having 3 is driving my OCD nuts, laughing out loud. So to make it symmetrical, you should get one more person to be in your party, like a coworker or something that would really irritate them. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I inherited 3 step-siblings when my father remarried. None were asked to be in the wedding party when I got married. They were just guests. No one got upset. Stand firm. You are right. Money can't and shouldn't be able to buy someone's participation in your big day. Now, for the update. Almost 2 days since the last family drama blew up over the wedding party. Got a text from India saying our mom wants to meet. We scheduled it at a local diner, the same place we used to go as kids. I got there first, ordered my coffee, and tried to get ready for whatever was coming. India showed up looking uneasy, glancing at the door like she expected someone to jump out at her. Then our mom arrived, and it was like she had a script ready. Right into a discussion about family unity. Like, can we not? I listened as she went on about how weddings bring families together. I mean, sure, but not all families are the same, you know? India mentioned that our mom had been talking to the step-siblings about the wedding. That's when I had to interrupt. I told her I already made my choices clear, and no amount of family talk is going to change that. India looked uncomfortable, insisting that the family should come together for the occasion. And then it got worse. Mom raised her voice about family loyalty, and I stood firm, saying I won't change my mind just for appearances. India tried to play mediator, suggesting we can all just be happy for the wedding. But our mom accused me of being selfish and dismissive of family feelings. India looked torn, caught between her brother and their mother. I decided to leave the diner, feeling the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Texted Millie about the meeting, explaining the family dynamics. She responded with support, but expressed concern about the upcoming wedding. Visited India later that evening to clear the air. She admitted our mom is upset and feels betrayed by the wedding decisions. I agreed, but mentioned that our mom might go to extremes to get her way. The next day, I overheard a conversation between my mom and the step-siblings. They were planning to confront me at the family dinner, wanting to voice their grievances. Decided to confront the situation head-on rather than wait for the dinner. Called a family meeting at our house, inviting everyone, including the step-siblings. The meeting was a disaster from the start. My mom tried to dominate the conversation, but I interrupted, stating I will not tolerate disrespect anymore. Tensions rose as accusations flew between both sides of the family. The step-siblings threatened to bring uninvited guests to the wedding. I revealed I have a backup plan for the wedding if things get worse. Mentioned the possibility of eloping if the family continues to cause drama. The step-siblings reacted with anger, claiming I'm ruining family ties. I stood up and declared I will not let anyone dictate my happiness. After the meeting, Millie and I discussed what steps to take next. We agreed to go through with our original wedding plans. No matter what, I sent a group message to everyone stating the wedding will proceed as planned. Added that anyone who disrupts the day will not be welcome at the ceremony. Family responded with mixed messages, some supportive and some angry. I'm just really nervous about this whole thing now. I mean, I thought by being upfront and trying to work it out, we'd avoid a lot of the drama, but it feels like it's just getting worse. I don't want to ruin Millie's big day, but I can't let them walk all over me or ruin our wedding. I'm just hoping whatever backup plan we've got will work out if we really need to use it. If anything crazy happens, I'll make sure to update. Edit. My mom and step-siblings have been making a big deal out of the wedding party. When I called the family meeting, my mom had a list of demands. She wanted me to change my groomspeople and add her kids. She even had the nerve to ask me to uninvite India. The step-siblings tried to intimidate us, saying they'd bring dates to the wedding. I told them if they did, they'd be turned away. There have been no date confirmations yet, thankfully. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.